Incoming bracket!
Kong versus Godzilla is an Adam Wingard film. Yes, the director who did You're Next, and of course the guest is directing the latest entry in this series. This was a movie that I knew a lot of people that were very much so excited for, and I personally was curious. I did see the trailer a couple times in theaters, and I was like, that could be good. Could be very much so potential. But at the same time, a little bit of background because I know I haven't reviewed these movies on this channel. Godzilla 2014, I'm not a big fan of. I liked the usage of 2001: A Space Odyssey during that one scene of obviously them coming down. I thought that was cool. I thought they kind of wasted Bryan Cranston. And then Kong Skull Island, I wasn't a big fan of. I saw it at my friend Austin's house, like in his home theater. It was the first movie that I saw at his home theater. And I loved the sound mixing for that movie, and I liked the visual effects mostly. But besides that, I thought it was just kind of movie. Godzilla 2, King of the Monsters, I believe it's called, I did not like. I found it to be very disappointing. So that's a little bit of background information. So that's one of the reasons why I went in with whelming expectations, because again, I didn't like, the last three entries, so why am I supposed to like the fourth entry? But I will say right off the bat, this movie I found to be diverting. That's the word that I kept on thinking about afterwards, because it's a movie that, it's been 24 hours since I've seen this movie, and I can't lie, for the life of me, I don't really remember too much about the characters, the story, and I'll get into that in the negatives. But I get it. People aren't going to see this movie for that, but it's still something I need to talk about in the negatives. But I want to start with the positives, per usual. So the positives, the visual effects, they are outstanding. Truth be told, I feel like a lot of big blockbusters have it where the visual effects, when it's heavy CGI, a lot of times it feels very headache-inducing and bland by the end, because I feel like a lot of movies use the color gray, and I think that that's something that can be very bland-looking at times, or it looks way too shiny and polished. This movie wasn't the case. This movie used color in a very interesting way. It was very neon-based, which honestly I think is why Adam Wingard did such a great job as being like a choice, because he did such a good job with the lighting. I thought he did an excellent job, because I wasn't taken out of the movie at all. A lot of times I just get taken out of by visual effects because it feels a little too clean, or it looks too bland looking. But this movie was not the case. So props to the visual effects. And speaking of color, cinematography I was a pretty big fan of, besides the last 10 minutes, which I can get into in the negatives. But for the most part, I really liked it. I liked the uses of color. I liked the lighting itself, the neon-based lighting, a lot of, blue, red. I thought that was really cool. I also like the score by Junkie XL, which I know that's not actually how you say the last part, but I always just say that, so go with it. I like the score. It was very reminiscent, kind of like, Zack Snyder's Justice League. It was very reminiscent of Mad Max Fury Road, but still made it its own because it obviously tied the themes of Godzilla and Kong from the previous movie, so I thought that was kind of cool. Sound mixing, I saw this in a Dolby theater. It was excellent, honestly. I could definitely see it maybe sneaking in a sound mixing Oscar nomination come, obviously next year's Oscars. So I liked that as well. I like the cast. I think the cast, the cast itself was enjoyable. We'll talk about the characters a little bit, but I liked the cast itself. I thought, Rebecca Hall, it was nice to see her in this movie. Alexander Skarsgård, I was surprised that he was in this, but very much so enjoyed his presence. And I also liked the little girl, the deaf girl, and her relationship with Kong. I thought was intriguing. Wish they did more with it, but alas, here we are. And then the action scenes. The action scenes, again, it ties in with the visual effects, where the action scenes, when they occur, they are pretty intense. And they are very, very well directed. You get a sense of urgency. You get a sense of height, which I think is also something that in a monster movie you need. But it was great. The sense of scale was really on point, and I dug that a lot. In terms of negatives, which I do have to get into now, I think the last 10 minutes, in terms of the cinematography, it went into that whole gray look, which I get, not spoiling anything, I get it's because there's one other creature that's involved that is that color, but it just made it look very dull looking. I just wasn't as intrigued when that occurred. And I also, just going back to the cast, I enjoyed the fact that these cast members were involved, but this movie felt like it was way too focused on the characters. There's a lot of humor that just didn't work. Most of it, actually. I didn't really laugh at all, but the humor just did not work. It didn't stick for me personally. The characters, I just wasn't interested in. The ones that I was, as I mentioned, the deaf girl and Kong, anytime it would focus on that, it was interesting. But then it would cut to Millie Bobby Brown, I believe her name is, from Stranger Things. And it just felt like a cutscene from, honestly, Stranger Things. It was kind of well, I'm not interested. And then I had the conspiracy guy, which I like that actor. I really do. He was great in Widows. But I just thought that the writing of his character wasn't interesting. And honestly, that whole part wasn't. Kyle Chandler was underutilized, unfortunately. He was given nothing really to work with. So I just felt like it focused on certain characters that honestly didn't bring much to the plot, honestly. So I didn't like that. I didn't like the writing. I thought that when it focused on certain things, it just did not work. A lot of times there's a lot of exposition that felt too heavy-handed. A lot of times also it really could have just honestly worked by just showing the visuals, because the visuals are just so strong. His style of, Wingard, it's just really good. So it's just like, let the visuals breathe, let it speak for itself. But didn't do that too much. Now again, I get it. People are going for the action, but when you have the action spread thin to where it's like, I think it's like 4 set pieces, you really do need to have the in-between of the action scenes to be interesting. And I felt like this movie, unfortunately, wasn't really able to do that. And that's why I need to be critical of that. If you are looking for the action scenes, I would say wait for a compilation video on YouTube, because I'm sure there will be. You'll see the actual fight scenes, I believe, are like 30 minutes. This movie is nearly 2 hours long. So, yeah. So, as it stands, I know I'm being critical of this movie, and I know that this is it's a popcorn blockbuster that people obviously love. I know a lot of people that dig this movie, and I know I'm being hard on this movie, but I think it's just because I see that there's potential to be had. Also the villains. Did not like them. I thought the villains, the human villains, and the one monster villain, which I'm not going to spoil anything, I thought that those were just very weak. The story itself was also weak. It was like a lesser version of Batman v Superman. Hot take. But, yeah, I think this movie was middle of the road. It's entertaining for sure, but it's very slight. Like I said, I barely remember this movie. But, yeah, I'm going to be giving Kong vs. Godzilla a 2.5 and 5-star rating. It's not bad. It's just kind of forgettable, unfortunately. But if you want action scenes, again, I say just wait for the YouTube compilation. But at the same time, if a theater is open near you, I would say mask up and see it on a big screen, because I feel like that's honestly the best way to watch it. But yeah, guys, Kong vs. Godzilla, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, what you thought, as well as your favorite entry in this series thus far. And as always, don't forget the subscription, notification bell, and I'll catch you guys later.